We were supposed to grow old together. That's what Mark said when he proposed under the cherry blossoms in DC, down on one knee with a promise that felt like forever. 2 years later, we had Liam, then Noah. We bought a modest 3-bedroom. In the suburbs, he had a decent job in finance. I stayed home with the kids because we agreed it made sense, because we were a team, or so I thought. The day he left was an ordinary Thursday. I was making pancakes. The boys were at daycare. He walked into the kitchen, looking like he hadn't slept, and said the words that would shatter the life I knew. I'm in love with someone else. Her name is Kayla. My mind blanked. 23. A server at the rooftop bar where he hosted his firm's happy hours. Blonde, flawless, no stretch marks, no dark circles from sleepless nights. He packed his bags that weekend and moved into her studio downtown. Just like that, I begged him to think of the boys. He told me I'd manage. And just like that, I was a single mother with no income, 2 kids in diapers, and a mortgage in my name. The early years were a blur of survival. I worked days at a grocery store and evenings answering phones at a tech support center. At night, I stayed up making flashcards for Liam's speech therapy and rocking Noah back to sleep when his nightmares started. I didn't cry because I was strong. I cried because I was so tired, Mark. He was on Instagram flaunting beach trips with Kayla and drinking cocktails while I was searching the couch cushions for gas money. The courts ordered him to pay child support. He didn't. He said he was between jobs, but his vacation photos said otherwise. So I hustled. I started freelancing online, design work, writing blog posts, virtual assistant gigs. I barely made $200 a week, but it felt like independence. And then one night, I made a digital planner and posted it on Etsy for $8. It sold within 24 hours. That one sale turned into 20, then 50. Suddenly, I had customers from around the world. Mums like me, students, entrepreneurs, people struggling to stay organized in a chaotic life. I poured myself into it, designed more planners, launched journals, created a brand, Thrive Space. I marketed on Instagram and YouTube during my lunch breaks. I watched free tutorials instead of Netflix. I invested every extra dollar into better software, better tools. And slowly, it grew. I quit my grocery job after a year. I hired a babysitter so I could work full-time. I'd moved out of that sad little townhouse into a place with sunlight and a backyard for the boys. Thrive Space became a movement. I was coaching overwhelmed women on productivity. I was speaking on podcasts. I hit my first 6 figures, then my first $1 million. No investors, no husband, no help, just grit, grief, and a fire that never went out. 10 years after he left, Mark emailed me. I think we should talk. Maybe reconnect for the kids. I hadn't heard from him in years. He'd seen them twice since the divorce. Once at a funeral. Once at a coffee shop where he left halfway through because Kayla called crying. The boys didn't ask about him anymore. They didn't call him Dad. They called me everything. Their rock, their provider, their parent. But I was curious, so I met him at a cafe downtown. He looked older, softer. The charm was still there, but dulled. Now, he smiled that same smug smile and said, I heard about Thrive Space. You've really done well for yourself. I nodded. I think I deserve a cut. After all, we were still married when you started. Technically, I helped you get off the ground. Stared at him, blinking, trying to process the audacity. He pulled out a folder. Legal papers. A claim to 30% ownership, citing shared intellectual property and common assets. Said he'd sue if I didn't settle. I sipped my coffee, smiled. Bring it on. Court was ugly. He claimed he supported me financially when I launched Thrive Space. He said he gave me the idea, that he loaned me his old laptop. He even had Kayla testify on his behalf, saying she remembered me working on that planner stuff. During their early months together, like I was a side project, he allowed to flourish. But what he didn't know was that I kept everything: bank statements, emails, text messages, photos of the cheap printer I bought with a $60 Walmart gift card from my mum, screenshots of messages where he called my dream a waste of time. I had receipts. My team had documentation. Every dime accounted for. And most importantly, I had my son's Liam testified now, a poised 17-year-old with his father's jawline. But none of his selfishness. He spoke of missed birthdays, of watching me fall asleep at the kitchen table, of never receiving so much as a Christmas card from his father. The judge listened. The courtroom went silent. Mark's claims were dismissed with prejudice. He was ordered to pay back $118,000 in unpaid child support, plus interest. His reputation ruined. A few local news blogs picked up the case. Deadbeat dad tries to steal ex-wife's business. He filed for bankruptcy within 6 months. Kayla long gone. The house repossessed. The man who once walked out on me with a suitcase full of confidence now had nothing. And the best part? The boys didn't want anything from him. Not apologies. Not relationships. Just distance. So I filed for a permanent restraining order, and he was barred from contacting me or the boys ever again. The empire now. Liam's in college on a full scholarship. Noah is a coder. I take them on trips every summer to Paris, to Tokyo, to all the places I once only saw in magazines. Thrive Space is now worth over $30 million. I have a staff of 22. I own 2 homes, a foundation for single mothers, and my peace. I walk into rooms and people know who I am, not because I was abandoned, but because I rose, because I built, because the very bricks he threw at Mayo used them to build my empire. He left me with nothing but pain. I turned it into power.